So I just bought a 92 Concours, and hopefully it will be replacing my 82 Suzuki GS650G. And they're both shaft drive. This one's got the cargo storage, and this cargo, I gotta lube everything up here. It's been sitting for about a year in storage. It's actually big enough to fit my motorcycle helmet, so I have a place to put that instead of carrying it around wherever I go. It's got a few cosmetic dings, some scratches, nothing that is a huge deal that I can take care of. Looks like I'd smash into something sometime. Not a huge deal. Just like this bike, it's got some cosmetic issues. Torn seat, a few scratches here and there, but it runs flawlessly. There's nothing wrong with this one. I'd go anywhere on it. This one just does not have the top end that I want. It doesn't have the it'll go up to 120. It just takes a while to get there, and I don't know if it's the wrong tire size or what, but the speedometer's a bit off. So when it says 80, you're going somewhere 65, 70, and then it pegs out and you really don't know how fast you're going. I don't like wearing a backpack while I'm riding, especially with anything too heavy in it, because it does get tiring, and this seat after about an hour does get kind of uncomfortable. The only issue, this thing, it runs awesome. It starts up, it drives, everything's good. The only issue why I can't drive it home right now is because the fuel petcock literally squirts gas. It's literally squirting gas just while it's running, and that's obviously dangerous to have open fuel dripping down onto a hot exhaust, and then you catch yourself on fire. So I have brought it home and I have removed the tank. I have a new battery for it. This one's from 2016. And what we find here is, this is called the petcock. It's just a fuel valve. And right, where is it? One of these corners. I don't know how well it's gonna be able to show you, but there is a rip in that lower diaphragm, and that's where all the fuel was just spewing out. There was no way it was holding any pressure. So it's literally shooting out like a super soaker. I have a parts kit on the way to rebuild this thing. So I am just basically done until I can finish it. And if you notice, there's actually two holes in here. There's one down here and one tube up here. And the reason for that is this is how it runs normally. This is more of a free flow. So when you put it on like reserve or prime or whatever, it free flows out of here, but otherwise it'll come out of there. So one thing I like to do, this is a relatively flat surface and I've cleaned it, is instead of shoving a rag down in here, which can leave little bits of like shop towel and lint and other dirt and whatever in the tank, is I just like to put a piece of painter's tape on it, because that gives it a nice clean seal where nothing's gonna get in here, especially all the stuff that falls off these trees. And it's painter's tape, so it peels off really easy without getting too sticky, leaving residue or damaging the paint. So I ended up buying a battery for that bike, which ended up not fitting in the battery container. It's just a little bit too skinny, so I get another battery for that. I never ended up returning this one, so this is still brand new in the box. Never even threw acid in it. So this is just a slight bit smaller than this one, but it's free and I have it. Well, I already paid for it, so it's not really free, but I already have it, so I'm gonna use it. And if I need to get a bigger battery later, great, but I think this one should be passable enough for the time being. So we just gotta undo those two. We've gotta fill this thing with acid. We're gonna leave it for, you know, at least half the day, just to let all the acid soak in and do its thing and give it its a full first charge, and then we can throw it in. I don't have the parts for the fuel valve anyway, so there's no reason I need to throw this battery in. This is sulfuric acid. This is ridiculously dangerous, harmful stuff. So if you haven't done this before, or you don't know what you're doing, definitely just go to like a Batteries Plus and have them do it for you. You should definitely be wearing gloves. I'm not, because I'm dumb. So we're going to take that plastic off. Tear this off. And if you notice, these have angled little thingies on them, and that's designed to puncture what's under here. So we're going to very carefully remove this. This is actually going to end up being the battery cap. And they have the foil, they have the punctures, so it's very simple to just put it over like so and just push down hard, and that's it. And then we'll just leave that until all the acid goes into the battery, and then after that we can put the battery cap on, and then we're good. So that'll take a few minutes to do that, so we'll just let it sit. This one is almost done. I think that's the one I punctured first, and this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. But you can see it's going to go down very, very slowly because there's not any, you know, openings up here for air to escape. So it's basically just exchanging fluid for bubbles at whatever rate it can come through those tiny little holes. All right, so there might be a little bit of residual stuff around the edges, so I'm gonna just wear gloves. These are not the right type of gloves, obviously, for this, but pull that off carefully. Discard of that. You can see a little bit of acid and stuff still there. So now what I'm gonna do is just put this cover on here, and it takes a little bit of firmness to press it into place, but you want to make sure these things are all the way down. And then usually, I guess not on this one, there's sometimes a little vent tube on the side that you would want to attach to the little tube in your battery box, but this one doesn't have it, so it is completely sealed. And that is it. That's filling a battery. Now what we have to do is just let this sit for a couple hours and do its thing. So this bolt that holds this lock cylinder in place was loose, so when you stuck the key in there or whatever, it would actually rotate this lock cylinder in here, and all of this stuff that's attached by linkage would slide back and forth. So I just had to take off like everything back here in order to get this plastic far enough back where I could access that bolt right in there. So now I got to put it back together, which shouldn't be too hard. Just a lot of little pieces. One less thing to worry about later. So these are nothing more than cargo hooks on the back. I'm sure there's probably a proper procedure to put all this stuff back in place, but I am going to just remove it, or put it back in the order that I took it off, so it all goes together. Alright. Tighten those up. Alright. Boom, cargo hooks. Now I probably did not have to remove this tail light, but I didn't know. As long as I'm in here, I'm going to wipe off these bulbs because they do get dusty, and it does reduce their brightness just a little bit. So now they should actually be significantly brighter. Same thing with this lens here. Take the screws out so I don't lose those quick. And then once in a while, you'll just clean off the insides of your lenses as well. They do build up some dust just over time naturally. But this one doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty clean already in there. So I'm going to throw that back on there. LED bulbs would be pretty cool in this thing. Then these are plastic into plastic, so you don't want to over tighten these. You want to go just snug. Snug on both sides, and then all right, that's perfect right there. And then after that, what do we do? These? Yeah, we can do these. These are the mounts The little extendo bracket mounts for the cargo carriers come off of here. So what are they, 12s? Yeah. Alright. I'll put that up there. I don't think these have an orientation. They look pretty symmetrical. Right. Do not do what I'm doing. Do not ever start screws with power tools. I'm just dumb, so. We had a little 10mm bolt that went over here for the front of this thing. Here's a 10. All right. All right. Other side. We have this little cargo rack. So now this is pretty well made. This lines up, it's factory, so they line up fine. But smart thing to do is just to start all your bolts first, and then once everything is lined up and you know it's seated and going the right way, then you can go tighten them down. Because if it's not perfectly machined or lined up, I can tighten this one down, but then it might just be shifted one way or the other, and this one won't start or this one won't start because it's too tight to find its position. So we're good there. We just have to mount the cargo rack back on, put these front panels back on. And we should be good. Looks like we got a lot of screws. Yeah, some of these are from other parts of the bike. This thing had a couple little dust covers over it. It's missing some. These things. These have washers that go on the back. So let's make sure we don't forget those. Got enough wiggle room to start it by hand. That's on. The side bags clip to those. It's got this little window thingy. I don't know what that's for. Almost looks like it's melted onto there. There's a... doesn't really have a view for anything. But it does go right here. So I'm not sure. There's a fuse box right there. But yeah, this tucks into there. There's a little grommet in the back that it snaps into. And then there is a screw. It's a round-headed Phillips that it goes into down here. Alright, same thing on the other side. There is just a ridiculous amount of things on this bike that are just user-friendly adjustable, like without any tools. It's kind of nice. There was this little cover, which I don't think is original to this bike because it's a different color, but that goes right here. With a little thumb screw in the back. Well, seems we're missing the nut for that. That fell somewhere. Well, I'll probably run across it sometime. It's just a little slide-in clippy thingy. No big deal. If I just got a luggage rack on the back for now, that's not a huge problem. Just for fun, let's take this battery out and put the new one in. And if there's any gas in the carburetor, let's see if it'll fire and run for a second just off of that. Make sure that lower one doesn't fall out. Alright. Alright, that's that. Turn the choke on. So it does run. I just need to fix the valve on the fuel filter or the fuel tank, and then if I need to do any carb tweaking, hopefully I don't need to rebuild them or anything. But it sounds okay. I did rev it up a little bit when there was a fuel tank on there, but obviously it's not getting additional fuel right now, so if I try to rev it, it's too much air, not enough gas left, and just not going to do much. Alright, so I got a package. I'm hoping it is the rebuild kit. I think it is. I didn't really order anything else. And there it is. Alright, so replacing this thing is actually pretty simple. This is just a piece of 500 grit sandpaper. And I like to clean off these parts just a little bit. It gives it a nice, fresh surface. Makes it actually super smooth without like gouging into it. 500 does great for that. And then grab a little WD. So the first thing I'm going to replace, just to get it out of the way, is inside here. There's 2 screws. And this just comes off like that. This pulls straight out. There's a little, it's like a wavy washer, but that just adds tension to it. And this doohickey in here, see how it's cracked when I bend it? It shouldn't do that. It should be nice, soft, and rubbery, but this one's old. That doesn't crack, that is nice and flexible, and there really is no orientation for this. There's just 4 holes in here, and it doesn't really matter which way you put it in. Then I like to just squirt a little WD in there, just so this thing goes in there smooth and doesn't pinch anything. Put that back over. There's that. Alright, now to this side. Sometimes these parts kits are not specific for one individual carburetor or valve or whatever, so they sometimes come with extra parts for other stuff. If you notice, there is 2 diaphragms in here. Very carefully, we're going to shove this through here. Just, it is pretty durable, but just very gently want to pull it through, because if I rip it, then I'm just back to square one. There's little indexing tabs for this diaphragm, and then there is a little section down here that has to go right there. So it's important to get the orientation of all of this tubing correct, and for this bike both of these come out the same way. So we'll just carefully peel corners and make sure everything looks like it's in place, and it does. So then I'll take the little screws that come with it, or that were in it, start with opposite corners. We'll make opposite corners snug to hold the whole thing in place. And once those are snug, it's together, I can relax a little bit. Put these two in. So the way that this actually works though, it doesn't matter what orientation this smaller hose goes since it's just a vacuum line. So you could put it in whatever direction it actually fits and it would still operate. But if we have a new one, might as well use a new one. They gave us 2 extra screws. We are not going to be needing those. And these are brand new bolts for the bottom of the tank. I kind of like using the original bolts, but for this application I'm not worried about it. All right. Let me get this thing out of the way. Might need a new seal for inside here. Dripped a little bit. Could just be coming through the lock or venting or whatever. Give it a little bit. I mean, we'll try it. Might be enough in there to get it started. Choke it. Doesn't feel like there's much of anything at all in there. Sweet. That runs. Now I didn't get keys with these bags, but I have ordered keys for them. Sometimes they're a little finicky to actually get on there. I found a good way to get them on there is just kind of like place them on and then just wiggle them back and forth a little bit and they'll drop down just a touch and you can snap that bottom piece in.